Hi there, students of economics, and welcome to this teaching module titled Introduction to Economics. Thereafter, we will study the topic Theory of Consumer Behavior. Together, the two come under Unit 1 of Macroeconomics. Well, in this teaching module, we will learn the following. What is economics? What is scarcity and the problem of choice? What is an economic problem? Why are scarcity and choice inseparable? What is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics? And lastly, what are the central problems of an economy? Before we actually get down to defining what is economics, it is right for us to look at what are economic activities all over again. Now, economic activities we know are related to production, distribution, exchange, and consumption of goods and services. The main aim of economic activities is the production of goods and services with a view to making them available to the consumer. The first type of economic activity is known as primary activity, wherein we extract natural resources from the earth. So here we see farming happening. Other examples are fishing, forestry, mining, oil drilling, where we actually draw from nature. So we extract our raw materials from nature in primary activities. Here we have an example of a secondary activity taking place, where we see the manufacturing of a good. And how do we manufacture these goods? We use raw materials that we obtain from the primary sector. Yeah. Moving on to the tertiary activity in the tertiary sector. Here, we provide services to consumers in other sections of the society. So what you see illustrated here are transport services, banking services, medical services, tourism, and so on. Now that we have focused on what economic activities take place in the world, we are moving closer to understanding what economics really studies. Well, you see a word wall here, and you have words that are related or associated with the subject matter of economics. For example, you have money, you have demand, resources, scarcity, how you allocate resources, opportunity, market, management, cost, econometrics, optimization, science. So we know that economics is a science. You have a term here, ceteris paribus, inflation, and many others. There are many more words that we can associate or that come under the purview of economics. So let us try to define or have another definition of economics. Here it is. Economics is a subject matter that studies different economic activities, and these economic activities are directed towards either maximization of profits at the level of an individual and maximization of social welfare at the level of the country as a whole. So this is another viewpoint of what economics is. In economics, we study the concept of scarcity. Well, the whole problem is that we have to make a choice. And why? We know that we have unlimited wants, but very limited means. So you can see in the picture, there are various wants that are clamoring for a particular resource, and in this case, water. So we see in the picture, there is scarcity of water. We need it for agriculture, we need it for public utilities, we need it for industries, we need it for electrification. So what is the whole issue all about? Now, resources are scarce only in relation to their demand. So what is scarcity? Scarcity is a situation when demand for a good exceeds its supply even at zero price. For examples, medicines in government hospitals at zero price when demand exceeds supply. Or perhaps during the time of pandemic, vaccines may be given for free. But we know that the demand for vaccines is far more than its supply, even when they are provided freely. It is because of scarcity that we need to make a choice. We see the girl in the picture, she's gone out shopping. And like all of us girls, ladies who like shopping, she's out there. And she needs to make a choice between a pair of heeled shoes and a pair of sneakers. Well, why is she making a choice? It is because of her limited resource, which is her limited income or purchasing power. She has to adjust her unlimited wants with her limited resources. That is the money that she has in hand. So that brings us to answering the question, what is the problem of choice? Let's answer it. Choice is a consequence or result of scarcity. It emerges when limited resources are to be used for the satisfaction of unlimited ones. Choosing one alternative out of many and not choosing others is a problem of choice. We have examined what scarcity and choice is. We arrive at sort of an issue or a problem. Because of scarcity, we have to make a choice. So that is an economic problem that we face. What to choose from so many resources that have alternative uses. So we need to define what is an economic problem. It is a problem of choice that arises out of the fact that resources are scarce, they are limited in comparison with the unlimited wants that we have, and that resources have alternative or other uses. For a problem to be an economic one, scarcity of means or resources must be accompanied by the fact that means have other or alternative uses. I think you have come to realize that scarcity and choice are related. So we need to answer the question, why are they inseparable? Why can't we think of both the concepts separately from each other? Scarcity and choice are inseparable at all levels of decision making. Let's see how. At the consumer's level, scarcity means limited income, like the example we saw in the previous slide, and choice means allocation of this income to different goods and services in such a manner that he maximizes his satisfaction. So where the consumer is concerned, it's all concerned with the maximization of his satisfaction. At the producer's level, for a producer, scarcity means limited input or resources. And what is the choice? Choice means allocation of resources for production of different goods and services in such a manner that he maximizes his profit. So you see the goal is changing now. Earlier in the consumer's case, the goal was maximization of his satisfaction. Here it is about maximization of the producer's profits. Let's see for the nation as a whole. At the national level, scarcity means limited natural resources that is available to them, and choice means the use of these resources in a manner such that social welfare is maximized. So there you go. Now here I've put up a table that I've constructed on the basis of the question that we just answered. That is, why are scarcity and choice inseparable at different levels? That is, at the level of the consumer, the producer, or the nation. And on what basis do we study? We study on the basis of scarcity, choice, and motive. So for example here, for the consumer, scarcity is his limited income. For the producer, his limited resources. For the nation, limited natural resources. For the consumer, he has to make a choice as to the allocation of his income to different goods and services. Where the producer is concerned, he has to allocate his resources or raw materials for the production of various goods and services. For the nation has a choice to make as to what is the optimal or best use of the natural resources available to them. Now, the motive for all these three levels is different. For the consumer, the motive is maximization of satisfaction. For the producer, the motive is maximization of profits. And for the nation, it is maximization of social welfare that is the motive. Now, this chart or table will help you to study this in a better way and to understand the concepts more clearly. We have seen that we can study economic activities, phenomena, or situation at various levels. Now, when we study the big picture, like we study the nation's economy, the global economy, and all that is happening in these economies, when we study situations like inflation or deflation, which can happen widely, or when we study a general phenomena like unemployment, when we study concepts like national output, GDP, GNP, national income, that time we are studying the economy as a whole. And we call that a macro concept. So the study of economy-wide phenomena would come under the study of macroeconomics. As opposed to that, let us look at this picture. Here we are studying the economic activities that concern smaller economic units or individual economic units like consumer, households, suppliers. So we study individual demand and supply, the firm's demand and supply, pricing of factors of production, wages or wage determination. And that time we are studying parts of the economy. So we call it as a micro study. Based on what we just saw, it is very easy now for us to differentiate between macroeconomics and microeconomics. So let's see, what is macroeconomics? It studies economic activities, laws, policies, problems at the level of the economy as a whole. It is concerned with determination of aggregate or total output and general price level in the economy as a whole. As opposed to that, of course, we have microeconomics, which studies economic problems, economic activities, economic issues relating to small or individual economic units, like, for example, a producer or a consumer. Having studied the two branches of economics as well as what we learned about scarcity and choice, now we need to talk about what are the central problems of an economy. Well, an economy is a system within which economic activities take place. And whatever type of economy it may be, a developed or underdeveloped, developing, rich, poor, all economies, be it centrally planned, market economy or a mixed economy, all have or face economic problems. Some basic problems are faced by all economies. So let us see what those central or basic problems that every economy faces. The first problem is what to produce, the second, how to produce, and the third, for whom to produce. Now, why do these problems arise? Well, going back, they arise because wants are unlimited and the resources or means that we have are limited. So we have to make a choice. And then we have to decide certain things. That is what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Let us now look at the first central problem of an economy, and that is what to produce. It is also known as the allocation problem. The problem of allocation of resources has two dimensions. One, the economy has to decide whether to produce consumer goods or producer goods, single-use goods or durable goods, luxury goods or necessities or comfort goods. So basically here we are deciding what good we are to produce. Secondly, once the economy decides what to produce, it has to decide in what quantities to produce. Whether to produce, for example, more luxury goods or whether to produce more of necessity goods. Here in the example, we see the good that we have taken or chosen to produce is a shirt. Once we decide what to produce, the next central problem of the economy is deciding how to produce. For example, in the example that we took of producing a shirt, that is what was decided, we can use a sewing machine and a tailor. Now I'd like you to look at this picture. You see some kind of harvesting is going on. We see a lot of laborers on the farm or the field, and we can clearly see there's hardly any capital being used. Conversely, look at this picture. You can see there's hardly any labor being used, but everything is being done by machines. It's all automated. So we have two types of technologies. One is the labor-intensive technology, which uses more of labor and less of capital, what we see in the picture. And the other is the capital-intensive technology, which uses more capital and less of labor. This problem is also known as the technical or technological problem. Once it has been decided what to produce and in what quantities and how we are going to produce, we have to now decide who is going to receive the final goods and services produced. How are these goods going to be distributed? This is known as the problem of distribution of final goods and services. The first aspect that we need to deal with is called as personal distribution. That is how the gains or what we receive from production are distributed among different individuals and households. So we call this personal distribution. Second aspect, we have functional distribution. That is how the gains from production are distributed among the factors of production. So, for example, we produce shirts. We sell it in society. It's being distributed among individuals and households. Whatever is being earned is distributed among the factors of production. So when we distribute it among individuals and households, it's called as personal distribution. And when the gains from production are distributed among the factors of production, it's called functional distribution. And so to sum up the central problems of the economy in a nutshell, the first problem, what to produce and in what quantities, also known as the problem of allocation. The second, how to produce, also known as the problem of technique of production. And the third, for whom to produce, also known as the problem of distribution. So today we have learned the following. What is economics? What is scarcity and the problem of choice? What is an economic problem? How scarcity and choice are inseparable at various levels? What is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics? And finally, what are the central problems of an economy? With this teaching module, I welcome you to the wonderful world of economics. Thank you, students, for giving me a listening ear. Stay safe and be blessed.